Right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening. I'm going to ask my fellow panelists, Nadira and Lara, to turn on their sound and their videos. Hi. Hello, Nadira. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. We're just waiting for Lara and her video.
Hi, Meg. It says you need to allow it.
That's strange. Let's see, why is that? Okay, there we go. Let's see if that works.
There we go. Hi.
There you are. You've joined us. That's brilliant, Lara. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. We're just going to give it another couple of minutes while everybody joins us and comes through. We've had such an incredible response today, and it's just absolutely awesome. So maybe while we're waiting for everybody to join us, in the chat on, which you'll see down at the bottom of the screen, you'll just see the little chat button. Why don't you guys just let us know who you are and why you're here? Are you a teacher? Are you a principal? Are you an au pair? Are you a therapist? Let us know what your background is, so we know who we're chatting to tonight. So a teacher, there we go. Hello, Pravitha. Hi, Ta. Let us know what you do. A teacher from Pretoria East, that's awesome. Grade R teacher and pre-primary HOD, super. Melody from My World Daycare. An OT in Bloem, loving that. Principals. Hello, Yumna. Okay, we've got some principals. We've got preschool teachers, grade R teachers. Jess from Winterton, KwaZulu-Natal. Yay, Jess. My sister lives in the area, and so does Lara. Some of Lara's family live nearby. So we know KwaZulu-Natal. A teacher from PlaySense, Pietermaritzburg. Hi, Diane. Awesome to have you here. We've got some principals here, preschools and series. Very exciting. Owner of a play group. Teacher from Vanderbilt Park, principals, OT working in London, currently home in South Africa. Awesome. So it's absolutely awesome to have you all here. Paul is managing preschools in Fordsburg, Newtown and Cosmo City. Very exciting to know all of you. There's an ECD principal in Stellenbosch. Absolutely amazing to have you all on board with us. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Leandra, owner of 0 to 18 years, Joburg side, East London, Potchefstroom, Piglets Playpen, love the name. Absolutely awesome to have you all join us. Thank you for joining us. Super, super. Nursery school teacher, student teacher. That's fabulous, Debbie. Good to have you with us. And some principals. Excellent. Awesome. So we have got a really exciting evening tonight, and we really appreciate you giving up your Thursday evening to join us. And I think what I'm going to do is without further ado now, I'm going to kick off. So I'm just going to start the little slides here. Give me a sec. All right. There we go. Right. Super. So a huge, warm welcome to all of you tonight to come and join us as we start to reimagine early childhood education. Alongside me here tonight is Lara Schoenfeld. Lara is the co-founder of PlaySense. She's also the founder of Nanny and Me, which is a little play program for children and their nannies, for younger babies and early toddlers. And Lara is actually in charge of our curriculum. So she is an occupational therapist, is absolutely fastidious about pedagogy and about the theory behind why we do what we do. And she has developed our entire curriculum, both our in-home and our online curriculum. And she's going to be talking to us about that tonight. Hi, La.
Hi, Meg.
And then we've got Nadira with us. And Nadira is one of our very special PlaySense teachers. Nadira started off as an in-home teacher. So she was running schools just like I guess you all are. And of course, with COVID, very rapidly had to shut her school down and then went online. And Nadira has just been unbelievably successful with being able to translate the curriculum for to be really meaningful for 2 to 3 year olds. So much so that her groups are actually oversubscribed now. So she can take no more children on her online groups. And that's just how successful she's made it. And so I'd like to welcome you here tonight, Nadira.
Hello, everyone.
Awesome. So tonight we're going to really just start to talk about how it really is time for a change. And, I think that this change has been a long time in coming. I don't think this is something new. I think a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight is actually a change that should have come a long time ago. But what really drew a line in the sand is this disease, is COVID and this lockdown. And I think the terms BC and AD are going to start to mean before COVID and after disease, because there is time before and how education was done before, and then there's going to be what happens afterwards. And I think all of us have been thrust into a very uncomfortable space of having to be on our toes. But in some ways, I think that this is a blessing, because I think that the time was right for education to change. One thing we have to remember is that education was built more than 200 years ago. And the reason it was built was because the majority of people, the masses, did not have access to reading and to knowledge, really. Knowledge sat in the hands of the very few learned people, and so and who could read, and not everyone could read. And so schools were developed really to convey knowledge and information. And I think that's very, very important, that we need to remember the context from which education was built. It was built specifically to convey knowledge and information. Fast forward to where we are now, conveying information is a completely different story. In fact, if you want just a little bit of information, it's right at your fingertips. You don't even have to just you don't even have to do a spelling bee to know how to spell, because you just have to use your spell check. If you want information on anywhere in the world, you just have to go and Google it. You don't have to study your geography. And so our access to information has changed dramatically. And so conveying knowledge and information into human beings' brains is at best a waste of time at the moment. The second massive change that's happened in our world is that we have different careers, and this has happened in more recent years. In the last 20 years, the world's landscape for jobs has changed completely, and the jobs that we were prepared for as children are no longer jobs that are done by human beings. Many of the jobs of the kind of 80s, 90s, and early noughties are things that are now being done really by machines. And so when we start to look at education and about how to reimagine education, we need to understand that we are educating human beings to live in a lifetime that we don't even know about, that we cannot conceive. And if you think about how different our world is just in 6 months, you can imagine by the time we get to 2040 and 2050, when these little toddlers are going to be in the workspace, it's going to be a very, very different space. And the careers we know of the future are not going to need knowledge. They're not going to need information. They're not going to need learned people, because most of those jobs will be done by machines, and anything that you think you can learn will be able to be learned by a machine. So we really need to have a look at what those skills are that would prepare a human being for being in that work world. And that is our responsibility as educators, and it is a responsibility that we at PlaySense take extremely, extremely seriously. And Lara's really going to talk a lot about what those skills are, because they are not the hard skills that can be learned through the internet. They are the soft skills which are passed on from human being to human being. And I think that really starts to give us an idea of our role as teachers. And that is that we are not conveying information, we are conveying relationships. And when we start to think of ourselves as being in relationship with children as opposed to transferring information, that's where we really start to understand what our role will be in the future and in education. And Lara's going to speak a lot about that just now. And so, of course, with these two things in mind, we now have a completely different agenda. And our agenda should not be skills-based, and it should not be transferring information. Those are two very important things that should have disappeared. In addition to all of this context and into what we should be thinking about when we think about education, I believe that the current education system is flawed, and it's flawed for a couple of reasons. The first is that the current education system relies on very expensive infrastructure. And when I'm talking about expensive infrastructure, I'm talking about the buildings and the entire infrastructure that goes around a school. And the problem with very expensive infrastructures, and for those of you who are principals of schools, you'll know this right now, because you've got a balance sheet that you've got to make work. And without school fees coming in, which has happened to most of us in the ECD sector now, we know just how heavy that liability is every month. And that's because we've got a very weighty and heavy infrastructure supporting education at the moment. And because we have this very heavy infrastructure, a lot of the school fees are going into this infrastructure, into these beautiful school grounds, into this building, into the electricity, and into the support staff, instead of where it really should be going, which is into teachers' salaries. very sadly, as time has gone on, and this is different from previous generations, and probably 200 years ago, teachers were much more valued and much more and paid better as well in community and in society. But what's ended up happening is that our teachers have ended up being underpaid and undervalued. And I think that it really is time for a change. So that is two of the areas that education we believe is flawed. The third thing is that because schools were built to have lots of children moving through them, and this is specifically, and remember 200 years ago, toddlers weren't in school, so ECD didn't really exist in those days, children were at home with their mothers. But certainly children, large groups of children needed to be moved through into a school building to take on this knowledge and this information. And they also need to be cared for because their parents were at work for very long days as well. So there were lots of children in spaces. And what ended up happening is this got transferred down to the toddler age group, into the ECD age group. And so early childhood education, which should have looked very, very different from the rest of the years of school, also went into big school classrooms and into large groups. And this really is counterintuitive for toddlers, because toddlers need small relationships in order to learn their soft skills. So what ended up happening was that the way in which we treated older children, which was in large classes, with a robust infrastructure, and by evaluating skills, which is what examinations were all about, this got transferred into an age group for which it was completely inappropriate. And so this one-size-fits-all approach was transferred down to little children. And then the final reason why ECD education as it currently sits is flawed is because it's highly inefficient. And this inefficiency has never been more highlighted than as we have it right now. I'm sure for many of you who are working from home and have your children at home, you realize the amount of time that you suddenly are not spending in traffic and moving your child from A to B. And I think a lot of parents are starting to realize that there's a real inefficiency around everybody sitting in traffic for exactly the same time of day. And that's part of the reason why, along with everything else, that we want to reimagine the way that ECD is executed. We want to reimagine the way in which we can teach little children and educate them. So with that in mind, I'm going to let Lara talk a little bit about, before I do, I just want to mention that when we start to reimagine education, we need to think about does the magic come from? Does it come from the school building? Does it come from the fancy architecture around the children? And the truth of the matter is it doesn't. There are two things that are absolutely magical when it comes to ECD. And the first is the curriculum, so what is being taught and how it is being taught. And the second is the person, and that's the teacher. And I often say to parents, because PlaySense is home-based, and parents get worried that maybe potentially there isn't all the fancy infrastructure of a school, I say if you've got a teacher and the right teacher, and she's got the tools to teach, that really is where the magic will come from. And that is really where children learn from. And so with that in mind, I'm going to ask Lara to speak to the curriculum, and then I'm going to ask Nadira to speak to the person. So Lara, let's hand over to you.
Great, thank you, Meg. Meg, you didn't actually introduce yourself, so our lovely host is Meg Fora. So yeah, thanks, Meg. This is really exciting, and yeah, I love speaking about my favorite topic, so I'm going to jump right in. And so it really is time to reimagine a new curriculum. So our first point is self-regulation is the super skill for the best start and success in life. When we started PlaySense, the question we had in our minds was, what is the one magic skill that if you could be giving them, if you could help each child to develop the skill, you could be giving them the best start in life and for the rest of their lives? Well, we turned to research. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with the marshmallow test that was conducted at Stanford University in the 1960s by Michelle. Children are offered a marshmallow, but then they are asked to wait until the researcher comes back. And if they wait until they come back, they will receive a second marshmallow. Now, many follow-up studies have been administered throughout these little ones' lives. For example, when the same participants graduated from high school, Michelle could predict their SAT scores more accurately than using their IQ scores, and found that children who waited possessed the habits of successful people. And later studies show that they have more successful marriages, higher incomes, and better health. They stay out of jail, and they're less likely to use drugs. They even have lower body mass indexes. So you can see it translates beyond the academics to the whole of life. Now, despite our Western emphasis on academics, even companies like Google have discovered that it's the soft skills that make better employees than STEM skills. And this super skill is self-regulation. And what is self-regulation? Well, it's really the ability to delay gratification, to identify, name my emotions, and then act appropriately, and the ability to focus and ignore impulses and to demonstrate empathy to others. It's the ability to put people's needs before yourself. And so then our next question obviously was, well, how do we develop this magical skill in very little children? And we're really specifically talking about the 2 to 4-year-old. So my next point is engaging a child's imagination through play is the key to developing self-regulation. Well, through play, I wasn't surprised being an occupational therapist, but what did surprise me is that the research featuring imaginary or make-believe play, which is the type of play that is actually fast disappearing from classes, it's relegated to happening in free play only, and children just have much less time to engage in this type of play. And in place of this, what have we done? We've put drill type activities, memorization, and worksheets. So what does the research say? Well, Vygotsky concluded that of all activities, pretense, the ability to imagine, affords young children the greatest opportunity to become self-regulated. Now, why is this? Well, I think all of us could identify ways children do this. And one of the most obvious is when they make playful substitutions. So when a child takes a block and says, this is a car, or this is my baby's bottle, they're actually distinguishing an internal idea from a concrete reality by changing the object's usual meaning. And therefore, they're relying on thought and not impulse. They develop language, which is really a tool of the mind. And then they follow social rules. They willingly place constraints on their own behavior, which in other scenarios they wouldn't do. For example, the little boy who just can't keep still, if you tell him that he has to be a guard outside the castle because there's a big dragon coming, suddenly he's able to stand still for a long time and be in the role of the guard. So I hope that outlines just a little bit of the magic of make-believe play. So my third point is that curriculum themes and sub-themes need to be carefully designed to encourage imagination. Now, the next question is obviously, well, then how do you design a curriculum that best supports self-regulation through make-believe play? Well, at PlaySense, our themes, for example, All About Me, Jungle, and Town, these are usual preschool themes. They run for a month, but we actually use weekly sub-themes of human roles in order to scaffold the children's imaginary play. For example, the All About Me theme has a sub-theme of the doctor. And then all the activities in the day reinforce this role. So music, stories, art, sensory play, and outdoor play emphasize the role, the language that this role entails, and the scenarios that children can enact with their playmates. And we believe that without adult support, the play of children cannot reach mature dramatic play. We believe that teaching children to play in this way has to be intentional and systematic, the same way you would focus on teaching content-related skills, and the challenge is not to be adult-directed. So my fourth point is that teachers play a pivotal role in guided play, from really knowing the child and how they engage to planning play, and then being in the moment and enjoying the teaching process. So what is the teacher's role? Well, we see teachers as co-players and co-regulators. You are the child's play guide. At PlaySense, we train you in developing the skill of knowing when to step in and when to step out. We want children to still lead their own play. We also help you to understand the individual difference in the way children process their sensory world and therefore play and learn. With so much planning and thought having gone into our curriculum, it means that you can be confident that you can arrive either on screen or in person to do what you love, and that is connect and play. And I just want to end off by quoting a teacher in our PlaySense family. She says, the PlaySense curriculum gives the teacher a framework to work around and helps her to plan and have ideas and useful props to assist the development of the child's play. She's not just an observer, but a facilitator who's continually monitoring, assessing, prompting, guiding, and helping the play to reach its full potential. She does not take the lead, but subtly drops cues to help the play develop, gain depth, include all ideas, allow turn-taking, and be inclusive of all the children who want to participate. And she then helps the play to not fizzle out too quickly through lack of interest, as well as foster great teamwork. The teacher needs to be aware of all the children's strengths, weaknesses, sensory profiles, and then monitors how they are coping within the framework of the play, and gently gives help when necessary without taking over or leading it. So that big mouthful, but you can see how passionate that teacher is about her imaginary play. Thanks.
Stunning, Lars. So for everybody who's listening, please do use the chat to ask us questions. We want this to be interactive. If you've got questions about the curriculum itself, now's the time to ask. Now, I just want you to just, I'm going to come in now and ask you a couple of questions. Can you give us a sense of how many themes we have and what a day in the life of a Play Sense group looks like?
Sure. So we have 11 mostly monthly themes. And as I said, each one of those has a weekly sub-theme. And a day in the life of Play Sense looks like, I suppose, a normal preschool. But we really have, so I'll go through that. That's a morning ring with music and songs and dancing and lots of books. And then sensory play, art, outdoor play, and then our play plan slot, which is really how I was saying all the activities build up to the play plan of the day. So, and then they have reflection time at the end of the day where they actually look at photos of themselves engaging and reflect on the key moments in the day.
Brilliant. Yeah, if you've got any other questions about the curriculum, please do ask them. I'm going to show you how teachers access them at the end of the of this talk. So let's go on now and have a look at how teachers need to reimagine their role. And I think this for many teachers is the hardest part, because there's only one way that teachers know how to interact with another child, and that's with love and cuddles and on their lap. And I think right at the beginning of the COVID lockdown, one of the things that we really battled with, our teachers was telling us that they just missed their children. They wanted to be with them, and a screen just wasn't the same. And so it really did take time to reimagine how on earth our role could be done through a screen. And that is what we're going to ask Nadira to talk to us about now. And once Nadira is done, I'm going to come back to your questions, which are already coming in, and we'll answer those as well. So Nadira, tell us about how, through the whole COVID lockdown, you reimagined your role.
Okay, great. So I'm going to focus on 3 points. But Meg, can you just confirm that you can see me on your screen and everything's fine?
We can hear you, we can see you perfectly. You are a little bit distant. Your voice sounds a little bit distant, so maybe just speak up.
I'll speak a little bit louder. Is that better? Okay,
Perfect.
Great.
We got you.
Okay, so I'm going to focus on 3 points. And the first point that I'm focusing on is keeping the human element in online teaching, and how this is both a skill and a secret to teaching ECD. And when it comes to teaching virtually, children want to feel connected and valued just like they would in the real classroom. As teachers, we want to bring across a sense of care and compassion, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's virtually. In the virtual classroom, however, we don't have that physical connection. So we have to work extra hard to keep that human element alive. So Play Sense has given me and the other Play Sense teachers training on teaching virtually, where we are given ways to bring value to the child while providing care and improving development. For example, in the Play Sense training, which is a series of videos, there will be ideas on how to keep your children engaged, how you can use different props or puppets in the classroom, different ways to structure your classes, and of course, how you can cater for different needs and personalities in your class. Also things like managing the virtual classroom, how to communicate with parents, how to support families during this crisis, amongst other things. Also, there is as Lara was speaking about the curriculum is given to teachers, and then we can share that with our parents. So it's wonderful because it takes the pressure off us to have to create lessons or activities for our little ones to do every day. So instead, we have a curriculum that we can provide for them. There's also a detailed morning ring, which guides the teacher with ideas for every morning. So what to actually do in the virtual classroom. And this has really helped, all of these things have really helped make my online teaching a success. as I don't have to spend time preparing my lessons or preparing a curriculum for my children. Instead, I can really focus on what I want to bring to the class and how I'm going to make that lesson special. You know, in PlaySense, we call it making the magic. So I can focus on how am I going to make the magic. So the training, the PlaySense program, and the support have all allowed me to grow my business and increase my income. Before the virtual program, I was teaching in-home as the PlaySense program, because we don't teach in schools, we teach in homes. So I was teaching, and I was actually earning less than I'm earning now because my class has grown so much. So I'm, like Meg said, I'm actually at maximum, and I had to ask PlaySense to please don't send me any more children. It's getting too busy, but we're having lots of fun. So I love, at the moment, I'm sitting on about 9. I have 9 children in my virtual class. And yeah, it's been incredible. I'm actually enjoying teaching virtually, and I am continuing to teach virtually for the next few months as well. That's a decision that I've made. And then the second point that I'm going to speak about is the positive reality of teaching small groups of children. So when my son was getting close to 18 months, I started looking for a school for him. And then I was so shocked at how schools for 2 to 3-year-olds were had classes of 20 to 30 children. And then one of my friends had mentioned PlaySense, and I fell in love with the idea. I mean, 1 qualified teacher to 4 to 6 children. It was the best learning model for a 2 to 4-year-old. And I just loved the idea for my son. And then I found out that they were looking to expand and they were looking for more teachers. So I sent through my details, I met with the team, and since then I haven't regretted my decision. I think this is what draws so many parents to the program, is that, especially now with COVID-19 and everything that's going on, that people are realizing that there are so many benefits to smaller groups, especially for little ones. You know, in teaching smaller groups, and as the teacher, having to manage 6 or less kids is so much easier. And I also feel like I can impact on every single child and give them the attention that they need. With PlaySense, my day, with the in-home program and the online program, my day ends at about 12:30. So I have free time in the afternoon, so I can focus on other projects or to just choose to spend time on myself or on my family, which is perfect for me at this time. And then the last point that I'm going to look at is PlaySense's commitment to ongoing support of teachers and their businesses. And for this point, I just want to tell you a little bit more about my teaching background. So before PlaySense, I worked at 2 schools. One was private and one was a government school. And I worked as a teacher in both of these schools for just over 6 years. And both schools were extremely demanding and stressful. I was managing big classes, I was overwhelmed with admin, and at times I would really question my purpose as a teacher and whether I was really following my passion or if I was just spending most of my time on admin and discipline and meetings. And it was really, really exhausting at the time. And although I was never truly happy, I was very afraid to lose that job security and to make a change. And it was only after I fell pregnant and had my baby that I decided to resign from my job, because there was no way that I could manage the long hours and the demands of a full-time job teaching at a school. You know, lots of people have this idea about teachers. They think, oh, we have the most wonderful times. We get home at 3 o'clock, we have the holidays off. But I'm sure every teacher here knows there's extracurricular, there's meetings, there's things that you need to go into school for during the holidays. So that's not actually the case. And that's something that I think that's one of the reasons that I can appreciate PlaySense so much, is because I've been in different teaching environments and I have experienced both the private school I taught at and the public school. They were completely different environments. And if I have to look back now at my experience with PlaySense, I think that's why I'm just so content and so grateful to be here right now, because with PlaySense, I actually get to focus on teaching. I get to focus on improving myself as a teacher. There's no admin, or very, very little, just replying to a few emails here and there, nothing bad. The support is incredible. Even though at my previous schools, I would see the staff every single day. And yeah, I haven't even met most of the teachers, but the PlaySense teachers are incredible. The support system is amazing, even from management. It is just absolutely wonderful. And the smaller classes, Also, when you sign up to be a PlaySense teacher, you get the training. I think it's online training and in-home as well. So that training also equips you and empowers you as a teacher, and helps you just feel more confident as a teacher. I think that's it. And yeah, I think there's a wonderful sense of community. I found a beautiful sense of community, not only with my PlaySense teachers and the PlaySense team, but also from the parents in my group, from the children that I teach. It's wonderful because even with COVID-19, none of our parents have, or very few of them have actually met each other. But there is such a sense of community and comfort, and all the parents go to each other for advice and help. And it's wonderful to have that connection. And then also with the in-home program where you're actually teaching in class, it's just a very positive learning environment, learning through play. There's no anxiety for me or for the child. You have control over your own business, and of course, the wonderful support system, and you have the curriculum. So everything is really taken care of. And yeah, like I said earlier, you can just focus. Well, I feel like I can just focus on me and bringing the magic to my class, and making sure that my classroom, whether it's in home or online, making sure that I can be a successful teacher.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Nadira. And you really are one of our absolute treasures, as are all of our teachers, but thank you. So I'm now going to switch across, and I'm going to start to just talk about how we are reimagining education. For those of you who are wanting to know, and I can see the questions coming through, we are speaking on two levels here tonight. One is very much to the principals and the owners of your own schools. We want to give you access to whatever you need from this. So we'll talk about that. And then, of course, for those of you who are interested in becoming a PlaySense teacher, we are looking for new teachers at the moment. We are we've got a lot of little ones coming to us now with COVID, because people want smaller groups. So there's going to be a place for what I'm going to talk about now for absolutely everyone. So let's go on to how we reimagining it. So the first thing that I think that needs to happen, regardless of who you are, whether you are a teacher on your own, whether you have your own nursery school, or whether you're a principal of a very large school, we need to innovate now. We need to understand that we're living in a very, very different reality. And that entails having the access to technology, and that's my third point, which enables us to be much more flexible. Our groups and our children are potentially going to need to go from being live groups in schools, in homes, real contact, to very quickly pivoting into an online platform at just the drop of a hat. And this will happen as we move in and out of the lockdown processes. It's happening in America at the moment, where schools have gone back and now into summer school, and now having to stop because there's new lockdowns. And we need to be aware of that. So we need to really innovate for that. We also need to innovate with our curriculums. There is no place for assessments, for tabletop activities, and for paper learning for little ones. Little ones need to play, and we need to understand that really more now than ever, play is the finest way for little ones to be learning about all the soft skills that they need for the future. And those soft skills are creativity, collaboration, resilience. These are the soft skills that little ones need to have, and it has to happen through an innovative curriculum. The other thing that you need to do as teachers is, I think you do need to reimagine your life's work. And I think Nadira articulated it so brilliantly. I think very often the joy is taken from teaching, because first of all, we're not earning what we should be earning. And second of all, we are stressed because we are stretched trying to deal with so many children in a large classroom situation. The ideal ratio of children to teacher is 1 to 6 in the little one. Under 4 years old, that should be the maximum, 6 children to a teacher. And that's because all of the soft skills that little ones need to learn is transferred through relationship, and that's close relationship, not damage control and discipline, which is often what happens when we're part of a very big class. So how does PlaySense offer this to you, and how can you get involved? So let's have a look at how our curriculum works. We have developed 2 parallel curriculums. So we have an in-school curriculum that you can use for when schools go back, or when you are in homes, or when you're in small group settings. And that curriculum is very, very robust. Lara kind of mentioned it just now, that it's got all the different slots of the day, but every single slot of the day builds into imaginary play. So as the little one, in fact, our little ones this week are all learning about the fireman. The theme for the month is the town. They're all learning about the fireman at the moment. Not everyone's on the same curriculum, but a big bulk of our teachers who went into our online program at the beginning of lockdown, they are all on the fireman. And so every activity that is done, whether it is building a fire engine in the morning, or a sensory play activity, or an imaginary play slot when they're imagining that they are firemen, all of it is geared towards this one particular theme. And so that's our in-home or in-school curriculum. It's very robust, lots and lots of detail, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. And then we have our very light version of the curriculum, which is what you give to your parents, and they all get added onto our portal into your own classroom. So they're not part of our group, they're part of your school, but they get access to 2 activities a day. And those 2 activities are based around our theme as well. Same as your morning ring. Your morning ring is based around that theme. So if you are teaching in a virtual situation like Nadira is, so you're teaching online, you will have access to your own technology portal that will give you your morning ring, the ideas for your activities, and then at the same time give you access to the activities that the parents are also seeing, because they're also part of the portal. Although they don't see all your morning ring tricks, they see the activities that they're going to do, and they do their 2 activities during the day. So we have these 2 portals that run parallel. So if you are a principal of a big school and you know that some of your bubbles in your school are going to have to switch, are going to have to transfer to home, you would be able to transfer all those parents onto the online curriculum, while your teachers in class still continued with the live curriculum, or with the curriculum that is in home or in school. So let's let you have a look at what those portals look like. This is an example of our online portal. So this is what Nadira and any of our online teachers would be doing. So what happens is that you would start your journey, and this is your portal, not the parents' portal. You would have your resource list, which would give you all the things that you would need to tell your parents to buy. The parents actually can get all the resources from us. We do deliver in those kits. It also gives you your music, all the downloads that you have or that you need, and of course your book list as well. And then you have the actual curriculum itself. And so this curriculum is the portal that you're seeing, which is the teacher's portal. So it will give you an idea of what the teacher's seeing, but the parents would have a mirror portal that would look exactly the same. So this part of it would look the same. So every day there would be 2 activities for the parents. We don't want to overstress them or overstretch them. And every couple of days there's an imaginary play activity. And one of our moms who I interviewed yesterday was actually telling me that this has just been absolutely amazing for her, because she's really learned how to play again with her little one. And there you can see day 2 had outdoor play and sensory activities. So that's what your parents will get. Your parents on the online program will get access to the curriculum, just the 2 activities. The teacher has access to all the information of how to run her morning ring and the activities that she should be doing. And we also have a full training portal. So you would go through the training with us. Lara did the training with our latest group of online teachers last night, but that runs every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks you can go through that. And we are really looking for teachers at the moment who can teach our American groups, because we've got demand from America and from overseas, and we need teachers to come on board and actually start to learn how to be online teachers and work virtually. So even though you are based in Welkom or in Winterton or wherever you are, you will actually be speaking potentially to parents who are not actually in your community. In the case of somebody like Nadira, her children are probably most of them around her community, so that when she returns into home as a play sense teacher in real life, then her children can actually join her there as well. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of our online portal. So the key stuff there is that you facilitate a group of up to 12 little children. You get a morning ring, you get a curriculum for your parents, and you get a community for your parents as well. Going on to the other curriculum, and this is the curriculum that you get as a teacher who's got a real live school. Well, I see that this is the same one again. Let's just move on here. There, why does it keeps popping back to it? There we go. Okay, so this is the curriculum that you get if you are running a normal regular school, and I'll just take you through a little bit. It also gets delivered to you on an electronic portal. There's the C theme, which you can see. And the first port, so that you have no planning, we do all the planning for you. There's theme 1, and theme 1, you'll get what your book list is, and those will be books that you can take out of the library or that you can buy online. You've got your movement cards. This is because we want to teach children about their bodies and movement. So we're using, this is the C theme. So there's emotion cards, and then you get your curriculum for every week. On the left-hand side is your week's overview, and on the right-hand side is all the resources that you need to execute the program. And then, of course, there's the extension program, which means that that you can actually do this with children all the way up to four years old. Then on the music tab is all the downloads of all the songs that we have. And so you just have to click on there, and all the music is there ready for you. And then, of course, we also have our classroom ideas as well. So your entire curriculum is planned out for you. All the information is given to you. And then just going back for you to see a little snapshot of that week, what it looks like. The first lot of the day is read, sing, move. The next one's art. So to show you what happens when you click on the art activities, it then gives you all the detailed information that you would actually need for that. So what equipment you need to do it, and what the activities look like as you do them. So this particular one is the pirate, obviously. And that's really how you go through every week. And at the end of every week, you can actually just tick on, and then you get the next week of activities delivered to you. There you go. So there, I've completed the week, and so we go on. Right, so that really is what PlaySense is about. We are looking for teachers. So if any of you are finding that your schools are not going to be able to continue due to, obviously, sadly, lack of funds and fees being paid, please get hold of us. But for those of you who already do have schools and things are going well for you, your parents are paying fees, but maybe being a little bit sensitive to paying fees, this is a way you can really, really add value. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through the questions, and I'm going to put them to Nadira or Lara or myself, depending on who it is specific for. Okay, so let's do one with, is the curriculum available in Afrikaans? So the answer to that question is yes, the curriculum is available in Afrikaans. That is for the in-school curriculum. It's not for the in-home curriculum or the online curriculum. We haven't done that in Afrikaans, but certainly the curriculum is available in Afrikaans. Cecilia, yes, we are looking for teachers. And if you are wanting to get hold of us, you just have to email info@playsense.org or teachers@playsense.org, and we will get back to you tomorrow. Okay. All right. Then okay, so then where would you find, okay, can this be used at home and in a school? Yes, it can be used in both. And just to say that for those of you who've come on board here as principals of your own schools, we are definitely not wanting to attract your teachers away from you at all. We are here also to support you. We are looking for teachers, but we certainly do not want to take any teachers away from secure schools and secure homes. So please stick with your schools if they're working well for you, and we could just support you there as you have it there. All right, so the curriculum, where do you find it? We deliver it to you on an online portal once you've had your training. How long are the online classes? That's maybe a question for you, Nadira. How long do your classes normally last for?
So the online classes, there are 3 sessions. The morning session starts at 8:30 and ends at about 9 o'clock. And then there's snack time, which is at 10 o'clock to 10:30. And then reflection at 11:30 to 12. But PlaySense does tell parents that the teacher will be available during those times. So from 8:30 to 12 o'clock, the teacher will be available to the parents if they want one-on-one time or if they need assistance with any of the activities. I haven't found that my parents really need any additional time, but you can also, with my group, my parents have actually asked me to start later. So for a while, I did start at 8:30. But then they were struggling. They said, because their children are no longer at school, they're waking up later, they're sleeping later. Would it be possible for me to start at 9:30? So we actually started a bit later, and we started 9:30. And then instead of having 3 sessions, they've asked me to have 2 sessions. So I've cut it down to 2 sessions, and we started 9:30. So it really just depends what you agree with and what makes your parents happy in your group.
Excellent. So here's 2 questions really about the type of people that would become PlaySense teachers. One question is, I'm 64, am I too old to join PlaySense? I'm a qualified teacher. You're definitely not too old, as long as you're young at heart and have got energy. I think the important principles are there is that you've got to be keen to embrace technology during this COVID lockdown period. Some of our teachers, not many of them, but some of our teachers didn't enjoy the online program. They found that they just really wanted to connect with their little ones and would rather go back into homes. We do think that this is a really good offering in terms of going back into homes. So for those of you who are running your own schools, you could actually do it in homes rather than in a school facility. But as long as you've got the energy at 64 years old and you love little ones and have got a passion for them, you are by no means too old to be a play sense teacher. We've got a couple of teachers who are in the older category. And then are there any OTs that are teachers? Yes, we've definitely got OTs. We attract OTs in. We love OTs. Both Lara and myself are OTs, and OTs really have a fabulous view of play and really understand the role of imaginary play and of self-regulation. So by all means, we definitely are doing a drive to get occupational therapists on board as well. All right, then just around the costs. The cost, there's a cost for training, and then there is a cost if you become a franchisee. So if you become a full-blown franchisee, that's a different story, because then we allocate you your group and your children, and we help you to build it, and we make sure we find your host home if you're not wanting to host the group in your own home. So there are more costs involved there, and certainly if you just email us, we can give you all the information on the costs. And then there's a lower fee if you're just wanting to do the training, and I don't have those numbers at my fingertips, but I also do think it's better that you do get in touch with Melissa or Mandy, because they'll be able to guide you through that process. Kelly says this is the most effective website I've seen, and I'm totally in love with all you've said so far. Well, Kelly, you must join us, or whether you use it in your own school or whether you want to join us as a play sense teacher, it is open to you. All right. Okay, lots of people asking about the costs, which I'm sorry that I don't have those at my fingertips. Lara, I don't know if, I mean, maybe somebody can WhatsApp it through to me from my team, because I don't want to give them incorrect costs. So
maybe yes, you can just also talk about our one principal who did join the program, and just how it can be white labeled for someone else's brand. So Meg has alluded to the fact that we want to support other schools who might have closed and just haven't had, maybe you tried Zoom and it didn't work, or you tried giving lots of activities on WhatsApp and that didn't work. So Meg, do you want to just chat a little bit more about specifically to principals?
Yes, definitely. Speaking to the principals, this is a very important thing. Thank you, Lars. So we have actually 2 school groups in South Africa who've already signed up and are executing it with their little ones. They wanted a solution that would be an online solution for the period now when ECD is not back in real schools. And in fact, the one of the schools has enjoyed it so much that they've actually now decided to have the other program for when they go back as well. So they'll run it parallel. So we do a training course with your teachers. We brand the school portal as your own, so it'll be the name of your school. So it was Pixie Playland, for instance, joined us, and so the Pixie schools, it's been branded for them so that their parents know that when they are engaging with this portal, they are still engaging with their teacher and their school. So we're very much here to roll that out to support you and to keep your parents in your community, as opposed to moving them out into our community. That is certainly not the intent. And so if you are a principal of a school who would like your parents to have access to a really good online program, then this is definitely the one for you. A couple of my teachers my staff have come through just to confirm the numbers so that I don't give you the incorrect numbers. The cost involved for becoming an online teacher, which means that you will receive the training. It's light training compared to our in-home teachers who have a full 2-day and more training. But the cost for the light training is 2,500 Rand. And for that, you're trained in the whole portal and you have access to all of the activities and the curriculums as well. And then if you are going to execute it as a play sense teacher, like Nadira is, in addition to that monthly, you will be paying an 18% royalty, which means that 18% of the fees that the parents pay you will come back to us. And the fees that the parents pay you are 1,750 Rand per child per month. And so you can start to calculate, if Nadira's got 10 children, that's 17,500, and then she will be paying some of that back to us for use of the curriculum and for all of the support. Okay, and then for schools, the way that it works for schools is that schools sign on for all of their teachers, and that's 5,000 Rand for all of your teachers to be trained, for all of your teachers to have access to the program. And then the schools don't pay a percentage of their school fees, they pay 100 Rand per child per week, because there's obviously a hard cost for us in terms of the actual platform. We have to pay the platform where all of our curriculum is actually loaded for each of your children. Right, one of the questions that's come through is how much equipment is needed for the lessons, and can it be found at home, and how much needs to be bought. So when we're talking about the online program, obviously the equipment that's needed on your side is type of stuff that you would have in your classroom anyway, or in your, if you are a teacher. So there would be a couple of props that you need. Nadira, maybe you can give us a sense of what sort of things you need, like, to conduct your curriculum this week.
So what I do love about PlaySense in home and online is that we often use like items that you can recycle, like the inside of toilet rolls or egg trays, that sort of thing. And there are some basic things that you will need, because if you choose to follow the morning ring that is given from PlaySense, so there are activities that are ideas that you can use with your group online. So things like, but very basic things like Play-Doh, lots of recycling items, maybe old bottles, some paint, a paintbrush, but it's nothing that you'll have to really go out and buy.
Okay, excellent. And then for our parents, most of the equipment, when Lara put together the first themes, we were in full lockdown, so we couldn't get to the shop. So a lot of the stuff can be found around the home. But for that stuff, it isn't. The moms can either go and buy it at Pick and Pay. It's really stuff that you can buy pretty much anywhere. But we also do actually sell the kits. A third party does all that fulfillment, and so parents can actually order those as well. Next question is, do we need teachers in South Africa? We absolutely need teachers in South Africa. We need online teachers, and we also need live teachers for our schools when they go back. We do think that we are already experiencing increased demand because parents are wanting a smaller groups for their children, and so we are expecting that demand is going to continue to increase, and so we are looking for teachers for sure. The full-blown teachers training, which is for the franchise teachers, that is a lot more. It is more expensive, but that also is a full 2-day training, and it's done online. So our next training is coming up on the 9th and 10th, which is next Thursday and Friday. So if you are interested, you can join that, and then you would become a franchise teacher. Okay, how are you finding the concentration with your specific age group? Yeah, so that maybe you can also speak to that, Nadira, and just how do you find the concentration of the little ones?
So I'm not going to lie, Meg, when I started, I think we all were just thrown into this virtual space, and we didn't really know what to expect. So it was a little bit difficult with everyone getting used to it. But I've also noticed with the little ones, well, after going for the training, it really takes them some time to understand that this is the new school. So I think that was something that I understood with the training, is that, give it some time, let the little ones settle in. And I think after about 2 weeks, they really understood that now this is the new school, and they slowly sort of got used to the new routine. And also just with the training, understanding like different activities. So something that was in the training was balancing active and quiet activities. So before I went for the training and I didn't know about this, I wasn't accommodating for all attention spans. So we know that we get so many different personalities in our group, and we need to make sure that we're catering for all of those personalities. So if we're balancing active and quiet activities, then every child is getting something that they need. And I think since I've sort of structured my lessons in the right way, I've sort of it's allowed me to extend my little one's attention span. So when I started, I was happy if I could get them to sit on a Zoom session for 15 minutes. For the past probably 2 months, every session of mine has been 40 minutes. A lot of the time I have to call them back, or the parents will message and be like, please, can you call us back? Because my little one was really enjoying that. So the attention span has definitely improved. And I think you just sort of have to hang in there, keep trying, but also give it a little bit of time. And the training and the structuring of your lessons is so important.
Brilliant. Excellent. So just before we finish off, there's so many questions that have come through about exactly what the structure looks like. You can choose to be an online teacher only, like Nadira is. If you choose to be an online teacher only, The fee for training is way less, and we do assist you with directing children to your groups. If you have your own school and you want to do it as an online program only, that's also absolutely fine. When we talk about in-home, we're talking about our groups are always conducted in-home, and that's the reason why our teachers do earn more, is because we don't have the full infrastructure of a school. So you can, once everybody is able to go back into homes, we are able to go back into home, and then you will be able to train fully as a full play sense teacher and have the full training, the full franchise, and the full support of the organization. And then you would have both curriculums. The last question I'm going to take is the program only for 2 to 3 year olds? It's actually for 2 to 4 year olds. And Lara at the moment is working on the 4 to 5 year old curriculum as well, which will hopefully launch towards the end of the year. But at the moment, it's a curriculum for 2 to 4 year olds. So with all that said, we just want to really thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. It is the hardest time, and I think almost no other industry has felt the pain as much as we have, not just because we've been shut down and locked down and our finances have been affected, like, for instance, the tourism industry. But in addition to that, as passionate teachers, we really want to be with our children. And it's been really, really hard to know that our children are alone, are not with us, and are not maybe potentially really receiving the socialization that we know that they need. So it's a tough time for teachers. Our hearts are with you. And if you do want to join us on any level, whether it's for your own school or whether to join our organization, we welcome you to do so. So from me, that's good night. Good night, La.
Good night. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And great questions. Please email us.
And thanks, Nadira. Good night.
Good night. Thanks, Meg.